Yeah, now is it working? I'm waiting for your reply in the chat. कोई बुक लगा के उसको बुलाना। Dr. Sakina can't see anything. This is not as good as Zoom, but yeah, we'll start at pars interarticularis. So what I was telling you is this junction. See, this is the superior articular facet. This is inferior articular facet. This is the superior articular facet. This junction is known as the pars interarticularis. तुम्हारा उधर ऑन करके रखो, तुम्हारा साउंड सुनाई दे रहा था, it means that I'm able to hear. नहीं, थोड़ा साउंड भी लगाओ तुम्हारा. Okay, this portion is known as pars interarticularis. I'm telling you repeatedly because this is very important. You will have to. This is very important because I will tell you later on, but every physiotherapist should be able to identify what is pars interarticularis, right? As Dr. Sandesh has told, the Scottish dog, that is classical MCQ exam, but not in the practical thing. For getting the Scottish dog appearance, we'll have to take a lateral oblique view, which is never taken in clinical practice. What we take is an AP and lateral view. So this is the lateral view. This is the AP view. We never take an oblique view. So Scottish dog appearance is practically never seen in the clinical practice. So have you all understood what is pars interarticularis? Once you people say that you understood what is pars interarticularis, I will go to the next one. Okay, once you have understood pars interarticularis, the next structure which you have to recognize is this hole-like structure. These holes. These are known as the neural foramina. Through the neural foramina, we have the spinal nerves which come out. So you will have to identify the neural foramina also. All the structure which I am telling you have a radiological implication, and you will see in the next portion. So you will have to, unless you identify in these pictures, you will not be able to identify in the MRI pictures also. So now coming to the AP view. In AP view, there are few structures which you will have to identify. One, this structure which is seen in the midline. What is this? This is the spinous process. Okay, the spinous process is known as, is exactly in the midline. The other one which you have to see is, are you able to identify this butterfly kind of structure? This butterfly kind of structure. How many of you are able to identify the butterfly kind of structure? Everyone who is able to identify this butterfly kind of structure, try to say yes. This, if you are not able to understand this butterfly kind of structure, this entire, don't label it, just identify this butterfly kind of structure. This butterfly kind of structure you will have to identify, otherwise you will not be able to understand what is AP view. All this butterfly is the posterior elements. Okay, this butterfly, this one is a superior articular process. This is the inferior articular process. This body of the butterfly is the lamina. Okay, unless and until you identify this butterfly, you will not be able to interpret AP X-rays. And this junction, this is superior articular process, this is inferior articular process. So this junction is known as the pars interarticularis. This is known as the pars interarticularis. Once you understood this much, now we'll go to radiology of the lumbosacral spine. This is the axial view again. So what is this? This is the intervertebral disc and this is the vertebral body. So these form the anterior elements. These two are the pedicles. This one is the lamina and this is the spinous process. These are known as the transverse process. So what I want to show you here is what are the contents within the vertebra. As you all know, within the vertebra we have the thecal sac. Along with the thecal sac we have the neural structures. Now, can you identify this portion of me? Just stand up, put your both the hands apart. So this picture which you are seeing is similar to that one. This is similar to a person standing with both the hands stretched apart. We have the right hand, we have the left hand and the head. Okay, so this is the structure of a person standing with head and right hand and the leg hand. So you'll have to identify this. This head, what you are seeing, this head, what you are seeing is the thecal sac with the neural structures, which may be either be spinal cord or the spinal nerve roots, either one of them. Nishant, Nishant. Okay, okay. मुझे वॉइस सुनाई दे रहा था अंडरस्टैंड दैट इट्स कमिंग okay so probably you have understood so this head like structure this head what you are seeing is the this is the thecal sac with the spinal cord either the spinal cord or the spinal nerve roots these hands which you are seeing these hands the shoulders and the hands they form the nerve roots so nerve roots are formed by the shoulder and the hands और रूम में लगा दो यार निशांत so the nerve roots are formed by the shoulder and the hands whereas the head forms the spinal cord are nerve roots within the thecal sac so this is very important I will come to this structure later on so coming to the x-ray lateral view so what I have told try to identify the same thing so this structure which you are seeing is the vertebral body this forms the anterior column this structure which you are seeing is the pedicle and all the structures beyond this is the posterior elements. This is the lamina and this is the spinous process. Hope you are able to understand this. So this is the body, this is the pedicle and this is the lamina with the spinous process. So what is coming below? This is the inferior articular process of the upper vertebra. And what is coming above? This is the superior articular process of the lower vertebra. So, and what are you seeing in between? This is the neural foramina. This is known as the neural foramina. So between every two vertebral body, what are you able to see here? This is the intervertebral disc. This is the intervertebral disc. Okay. Hope everyone is able to understand these things. And you will have to understand two particular lines. One line is drawn joining the along the anterior surface of the vertebrae. This is known as the anterior vertebral line. Another line is drawn along the posterior surface of the vertebrae. This is known as the posterior vertebral line. Okay, let's do it again. So let me ask you questions. So this is the vertebral body. This, so what is structure one? So what is structure one? I'm waiting for your answers. Oh, there's a delay. So again, let me revise. The yeah, structure one is the vertebral body. So what is structure two? What is structure three? What is structure this one? This joint. What is structure four? So yeah, we will have to all these things. So structure one is the vertebral body. Structure two is known as the pedicle. Structure three is the neural foramina. Structure four is the pars interarticularis. Yeah. And coming to two lines, what is this line? What is line 5? And what is line 6? Line 5 is anterior vertebral line. And line 6 is posterior vertebral line. So I'm very sure all of you are giving a right answers. So this is what is important in radiology of the X-ray lateral view of the lumbosacral spine. Again, now we will go to the X-ray AP view. Once we are done with this one, we will see some proper real life radiographs where you will have to answer everything. So in the X-ray AP view, everyone should identify this butterfly. Everyone should identify this butterfly. Everyone should identify this butterfly. I will give you 1 minute time. At this level, every one of you draw this butterfly on your screen. I will wait for 30 seconds. I want every one of you to draw that butterfly at this level. After 30 seconds, I will draw on it. Just compare yourself whether you are right or wrong and give me a reply in the chat whether you were able to identify this butterfly or not. Okay. Now I am drawing the butterfly at the adjacent level. This is the butterfly which I am drawing. Okay, so now let me know how many of you were able to identify the butterfly. Yeah, this is very important. This is because in an AP view, you see the anterior column, you see the middle column, you see the posterior column, but they are superimposed on each other. So you should selectively recognize each and every column. So first we were trying to recognize the posterior column. So if I have to recognize the posterior column in the AP view, I will have to identify the butterfly. Okay, so I hope every one of you have identified butterfly. So if you have identified the butterfly, you have identified the posterior column. So in the posterior column, what are there? Now, as I've told you, posterior column has a spinous process. This is the midline of the butterfly. This is the portion which is known as the lamina. This is the superior articular process. Superior articular process. This is the inferior articular process. This is the pars inter, this junction between superior and inferior. This is known as the pars interarticularis. So, like we have in Mahabharata, Arjun could identify only the eye of the parrot. So, when you are looking for the posterior elements, you'll have to identify this butterfly. Everything which is there in this butterfly are the posterior elements. Within the posterior elements, we have the spinous process, we have the lamina, we have the superior articular process, inferior articular process, and most important, the pars interarticularis. Okay, in the same picture as I've told you, AP view, all the three layers are superimposed on each other. So I have to selectively identify each and every layer in each step. So in first step, I have identified the posterior elements, that is the butterfly. In the second step, I will identify the pedicle, which is very easy. So are you able to identify the pedicles? Pedicles. So this is the pedicle. So all of you identify the pedicles at this level. I think every one of you can identify the pedicle. Pedicle at this level. I'll wait for a second. Once you identify, I will go next. Yeah. So this is the pedicle. So these pedicles form the middle column. So now I have identified the middle column also. So now I have identified the posterior elements. I have identified the middle column. Now I will identify the anterior column. Anterior column is vertebral body. So identify a square. So identify a square. So similarly, again draw on your screen vertebral body at this level and the vertebral body at this level. Good. I hope all of you have drawn it. Now, where is the intervertebral disc? So this is the vertebral body at this level. So everything between each two vertebral body is the intervertebral disc. So this one is the intervertebral disc. I think everyone has identified the AP view. So again, to make it easy, this is the pedicle. This is the transverse process. This is the spinous process. So in every level, identify the pedicles, identify the, in this one, try to identify the pedicles at each level, pedicle, pedicle. This appears very easy, but you have to practice. So on your screen, try to draw pedicles at each level. I will not hurry up because if you don't understand this one, whatever I teach in your my next session will be useless. So take your time, draw the pedicles at each level. Identify the spinous process at each level. Identify the spinous process at each level. Okay, I think you everyone has done. And now, has everyone done it right or wrong? Answer me in the chat. I think if you have drawn there, it should be sufficient. Now, I think this picture now everyone should have understood. So again, what is one? Vertebral body. Probably I've repeated a lot. Just leave it. So one, just try to identify this one. This is the pars interarticularis, which is very important. Yeah. So again, this one. So last thing which you have to practice is identify the three columns. So this one is the vertebral body. Until now, there was small variation which I've taught you. This is to make it easy for you, but what is actually seen is 2/3 of the vertebral body is known as the anterior column, whereas the pedicle plus 1/3 of the posterior vertebral body, this portion, 1/3 of the posterior vertebral portion, this forms the middle column. And the one which is behind the posterior spinal line, this spinous process and the lamina, this forms the third column, posterior column. This identification of three columns is also important. So the anterior 2/3 of the vertebra forms the anterior column, posterior third of the vertebra and the pedicle forms the middle column, and spinous process forms the posterior column. And now coming to the fractures. So now it's a practical portion. So there is fracture line over here. So how many columns has it fractured? It has fractured one column. Second one, we will see this one. There is a fracture over here. How many columns has it fractured? It has fractured one column. Here we see the fracture line is crossing across two columns. So this is known as two-column fracture. This has caused fracture across three columns. This is known as three-column fracture. What is important is when you see a patient with fracture, you'll have to identify whether the fracture is involving one column or two column or the three column. Any fracture which is involving one column is a stable fracture. Is a stable fracture. This usually doesn't require surgery, and you may manage it with a lumbosacral brace. Whereas any fracture which is involving two or three columns is an unstable fracture, and you will have to go for surgery. And you'll have to go for surgery. So am I clear? So whenever you see a patient with this kind of thing, you'll have to identify whether it is one column fracture or more than one column fracture. If it's a fracture involving the one column, it's a stable fracture, and you can manage it with a lumbosacral brace and the bed rest. And if it is a fracture involving more than one column, that is either a two column or a three column fracture, it is an unstable fracture, and then this patient will have to place a lumbosacral brace, and you should not mobilize him. You should make him prone supine on a bed, and you should see a surgeon to be done what next. So this is a practical x-ray. So there's a fracture line over here. So just answer me, is a single column fracture or a two column fracture or a three column fracture? Yeah, you are right. If it's a single column fracture, so this is a stable fracture, and patient can be managed conservatively. This is actually CT scan, but let us see this one. So can you identify what is this fracture? Single column or two column or three column? Yes, what you have said is right. This is single column fracture. So again, this requires conservative management. So identify this. So this is injured, this is injured. So this is a two column fracture. So this requires surgery. Until surgery, patient should be given a lumbosacral belt, and he should not be allowed to sit or stand. And coming to this one, there is a fracture of this column, there is a fracture of this column, and the fracture of this column. So this is a 3-column fracture. So again, this requires surgery. Can you say what happened to intervertebral disc at this point? Can you compare IVD at this level, L3, L4, IVD at L4, L5, and IVD at L5, S1? So what is your findings? What happened to the height? So height at L5, S1 is reduced. So reduction of intervertebral height is a sign of disc prolapse. Again, identify the neural foramina. So what happened to the size of neural foramina at L5, S1? S1, S5 neural phenomena is decreased in size. So through the neural foramina, the nerve root comes out. So it means there is a prolapse of disc at L5, S1 and it is compressing the neural foramina and this causes sciatica. So this X-ray is diagnostic of sciatica, but for all cases of sciatica, you will have to ask for an MRI lumbosacral spine. So this is what you have seen in that X-ray. There was a decrease in height of L5S1. There's a decrease in the neural foramina size. So this shows there is a prolapse intervertebral disc at L5S1 and with a decrease in the neural foraminal size. Next one, I kept on insisting you will have to identify the pars interarticularis. So this one is the pars interarticularis. This one is the pars interarticularis. So what happened to pars interarticularis here? There is a fracture of the pars interarticularis. Dr. Fatima is asking that what is a disc desiccation? Is there a decrease in size? Yes, disc desiccation is a part of disc herniation, but in early stages of disc desiccation, there is no decrease in height of intervertebral disc. But in late stages, there is a decrease in height of intervertebral disc. When I speak about MRI and pathology, there I will tell you about the intervertebral disc and all those pathologies. Now I'm speaking about those pathologies which you can identify on the X-rays. निशांत इसका वॉल्यूम कम कर दो ना प्लीज थोड़ा कम कर दो ना So this is fracture of the pars interarticularis, but there is no movement of one vertebra over the other. Whereas here, because there is a fracture of pars interarticularis, the vertebra are slipped forward. You'll have to identify all these three things because in all the three patients present with back pain. But when there is fracture of the pars interarticularis, but there is no movement of the vertebra, this patient can be managed conservatively. Whereas if there is movement of the vertebra, this requires surgery. So can you identify spondylosis and spondylolisthesis? Spondylosis is fracture of the pars interarticularis, but there is no movement of one vertebra over the other. Spondylolisthesis is fracture of the pars interarticularis, and there is movement of one vertebra over the other. So same. So now coming to grades of spondylolisthesis, you will have to identify if this is 100%. So here there is a slip of 25%. So when there's slip of 25%, we call that grade 1. There's a slip of 50%, we call it grade 2. When there's a slip, see this has gone anterior, this has gone posterior. So there is slip more than 50%, nearly 75%. When there's slippage of 75%, we call it a grade 3 spondylolisthesis. And where a slip of more than 75%, we call it grade 4 spondylolisthesis. And when the entire communication, contact between the two vertebrae is lost, we call that one spondylolisthesis, spondyloptosis. So this is known as spondyloptosis, and this is grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, and this is spondyloptosis. So can everyone identify what is the pathology here? This is abnormal, this is normal. Can you identify? 1, 2 seconds or 3 seconds, I will wait. I'm waiting for your answers. Yeah, so this is the normal one. Here there is a fracture of the pars interarticularis. But there is no movement of the vertebrae. You can identify the posterior vertebral line. They are maintained. So because there is no movement, but there is fracture, this goes into the diagnosis of spondylosis. And what is the management of spondylosis? Surgery or conservative? This is managed conservatively. This usually does not require surgery. Yeah. Can you identify? This is the normal level. This is the abnormal level. And what happened to the anterior and posterior vertebral lines? So there is fractured parts. There is movement of the vertebra. That is, there is a break of the anterior vertebral line. This has grown back. So this is, and what is the grade? This is spondylolisthesis. And this is grade 1. When there is spondylosis, if spondylosis is grade 1, if the patient is minimally symptomatic, if physiotherapy is working, if the lumbosacral belt is working, then you will go with conservative management. But if the patient has, you use conservative management for 6 months, if the patient fails conservative management, then you will require surgery. So spondylosis and spondylosis grade 1 is majority managed by physiotherapy alone. What is this? What has happened? Yeah, you can either say spondylosis grade 1 or grade 2. That's intermediate. It's a visual impression. I felt it's spondylosis grade 1. Some may answer is spondylosis grade 2. It's okay. It's mainly dependent on patient symptoms. But grade 3 and grade 4, and this is spondyloptosis. That is grade 5. All of them will definitely require surgery. And most important thing is what is these are known as the flexion extension views. That is, we take a lateral view X-ray with one patient in full flexion and the second one in full extension. Before you say that any pain in the lumbosacral spine is not because of spine, even if you have got an MRI done, you can't say that pain is not from the spine unless you do a flexion extension. In this you can see in extension all the vertebrae are normal, but in flexion there is a disruption of the posterior vertebral line and the anterior vertebral. So there is grade 1 listhesis. If this patient you say you take a neutral X-ray and you say that there is nothing abnormal in X-ray, that is wrong. No investigation for a patient with lower back pain is complete. Even if an MRI is already done, you will have to ask for an X-ray lumbosacral spine flexion extension. Only when in flexion extension there is no mobility, then you can say that there is no listhesis. This patient has no listhesis in neutral position, and this patient doesn't have listhesis in extension position, but he has a listhesis in flexion position, and that is grade 1 listhesis. So this patient has pain. So what do you advise for this patient? Because it's grade 1 listhesis, will plan for conservative management. And what specific precaution will you advise him? You will advise him not to do flexion. Any activity where he does flexion exacerbates the movement and causes pain. So you will give him exercises which do to strengthen the back muscles, and you advise him not to flex, not to bend. Someone is, yeah, majority of you have answered it right. Spondyloctasis grade 5. Someone has said grade 4 spondylolisthesis, Dr. Purnima. But you can see in this X-ray there is completely no contact. There is no contact between alpha S and S1. So this classifies into grade 5 spondyloctosis and not spondylolisthesis. Yeah, someone is asking that pain gets worsened in retrolisthesis, pain gets worsened in anterolisthesis. It's not so. So every time you'll have to get a flexion extension view. If the spondylolisthesis is getting worsened in flexion, then you will advise him not to flex. If the listhesis is getting worsened in extension, then you will ask the patient not to worsen. So this particular patient, you will ask him not to flex. But if there is a patient in which extension causes listhesis and flexion reduces it, then in that patient, you will ask him to avoid extension, right? So this is why flexion extension views are important. It will help you in making a decision as to what you can advise him, conservative management or surgery. Second, you will be able to advise him whether he should maintain a flexion posture or an extension posture. Yeah. My next topic will be MRF lumbosacral spine. This is already 8 o'clock. Should I continue with MRF lumbosacral spine or should I take it in the next session? I think it's better if I take it in the next session. No, Dr. Krishna, you are not, no one is audible. In Zoom, we can speak to each other, but in YouTube Live, only I can speak. Only I can speak, and you people can only see. So it will take time for me to get used to it because, and there is also, yeah, fine. I think it's preferable to start in the next session because even I'm taxed up because I'm seeing the laptop, seeing my mobile, and there is a lag of at least 10 to 15 seconds, and so it will take at least 1 or 2 sessions for me to get used to it. So, and even MRI lumbosacral spine is completely a different session, and I want to continue a single session by the end. And MRI lumbosacral spine is more important because everyone comes with an MRI lumbosacral spine. So in a single session, I want to teach you what is normal in MRI lumbosacral spine. And second one, what are the different pathologies? And by the end of the session, again, you will have to identify whether it's a normal spine or a pathological spine. If it's pathological spine, what is the pathology and what exercises which are going to advise. This is what is my next one. And what are the questions coming? Pars interarticularis and pedicle. Dr. Jaz is asking what is the difference between pars interarticularis and pedicle. They're completely different from each other. They're completely different. See, there's no this one is pedicle. This one is pedicle. This is the anterior column. This is the posterior column. So the one horizontal structure which is connecting anterior and the posterior column. Anterior column with the posterior column is the pedicle. And again, the one connecting interarticular facet. So that is the joint between two articular processes. So this is one articular process. This is the another articular process. So this one is the pars interarticularis. Basically, pedicle is oriented horizontally. Pars interarticularis is oriented vertical. Fracture of pedicle, degenerative fracture of pedicle is very rare, whereas degenerative fracture of pars interarticularis is very common. Fracture of pars interarticularis usually causes spondylolisthesis. So whenever you see spondylolisthesis, you'll have to look for fracture of pars interarticularis. Even in the AP view, let us see this in the AP view again. Yeah, see, Again, if you have to identify the pedicle, pedicles are very easy to identify. These prominent structures are the pedicle. Okay, but if you have to identify the pars interarticularis, we'll have to draw the butterfly again. This is the butterfly which I am drawing. Okay. Okay. Once you have drawn this butterfly, the shoulder of the butterfly is the pars interarticularis. Shoulder of the butterfly. The shoulder of butterfly is the pars interarticularis. So am I clear what is the difference between pars interarticularis and pedicle? One thing, one help, I will end my session here, but I require one help from you. Major problem with me is using this YouTube live. Zoom was much easier. Zoom only problem was it was not allowing me more than 100 participants, and beyond the 100 participants it was very costly. But actually I've subscribed for it. Once I have subscribed, the news in the channel not to use it. So once the Indian government has advised not to use it, I'm not going to use it at any cost. But in the YouTube live there is a lag, so I want your feedback whether I'm able to reach you with YouTube live or not. If there's any difficulties, please WhatsApp me in the group so that I can look at other software. No, so that I can look in the other software and decide whether should I continue with YouTube live or this one. But YouTube live is preferable because it will allow you unlimited number of people and it's easier to set up. If your feedback with this session is good, I will continue with the YouTube live. And someone is asking, butterfly has 4 shoulders. No. Human being has only 2 shoulders. So butterfly has only 2 shoulders. Okay, this is the groin. Groin is not important for us. These 2 are the groins. Groins are not useful for us. What are useful is only shoulders. Fracture the shoulder is fracture of the pars interarticularis. We have no role with the groin. And regarding the video, once I end the stream, the video gets automatically recorded in the YouTube, and this recorded video will be accessible to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. That is why I've asked everyone to subscribe to my channel. So you can subscribe to my channel and access this video. And most important is, before you come to my next session for MRI, please revise this session once. If you don't understand this session now, you will not be able to understand by next session. So I request you all to watch this video again and then come to my next session, which I will be announcing in my group. We have the sessions on Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 p.m. On Tuesdays, I will be speaking about the basic sciences, and on Fridays, I will be speaking about the applied clinical aspects of the physiotherapy. And thank you all for the support. It would have been much better if I would be able to speak to you, but now this is only alternative, so I will be continuing YouTube live. But I'm looking forward regarding your feedback with using the YouTube live. If at all majority of you people are not comfortable with YouTube live, then I will start looking into other softwares. Thank you and good night for now.